واتبعوا ما تتلو الشياطين على ملك سليمان وما كفر سليمان ولكن الشياطين كفروا يعلمون الناس السحر وما أنزل على الملكين ببابل هاروت وماروت.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. After we spoke about the life of the unseen, the life of Jinn, and we answered most of the questions that people have, now we'll move on to the second part of this series, which speaks about magic. We'll speak about magic from the perspective of Quran and Sunnah, and we would learn why is it haram, forbidden upon Muslim to learn magic or to practice magic, and how do magicians prepare their magic, and what is the relationship between Jinn and magic, and what effect does it have upon the individual. So to start off, we need to define what magic is. And magic, linguistically, the word sihr linguistically means whatever is caused by a hidden force, and it's imagined as other than itself, or it appear to be in a form other than its real one. Ibn Qudama rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned when he defined magic, he said that magic is a set of nuts, set of certain words that is uttered or written or carried out in such a way to cause an effect to the body, to the mind, and to the heart without even coming into contact with the person or with the subject. So the magicians or magic is prepared in a way that is a certain words, certain action to make things seem to be other than its reality, or to cause an effect to a subject indirectly without even getting contact with that subject. And this is what the magicians do by dividing people into four types, as we will speak about inshallah. But if we really want to speak about magic and to really understand why is magic haram, as we're going to prove later on inshallah from Quran and Sunnah, this definition comes in hand now as a great definition. That magic, the reality of magic, that it's an act that brings one closer to the shaitan. Magic is an act that brings that individual closer to the shaitan to fulfill what the shaitan requires from them. To learn certain words that carries disbelieving in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To do certain actions that causes a person to disbelieve in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the jinn or the shayateen to help them to fulfill their desire or to do what they want. So magic is a contract between the magician and the shaitan that brings them together to cause harm or to cause an effect to an individual, as we will see inshallah when we speak about magic in details. So we could understand from the definition why is magic haram ahead of time, because magic is the relationship between the shaitan and that individual. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah in verse number 103, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated, وَاتَّبَعُوا مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينُ عَلَى مُلْكِ سُلَيْمَانَ وَمَا كَفَرَ سُلَيْمَانَ وَلَكِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ كَفَرُوا يُعَلِّمُونَ النَّاسَ السِّحْرَ. Allah stated the ruling of learning magic, the ruling of teaching magic or learning magic to harm people. Allah said they indeed followed وَاتَّبَعُوا مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينَ, what the shayateen has revealed upon the throne of Sulaiman alayhi salam. And وَمَا كَفَرَ Sulaiman, Sulaiman was not a disbeliever, or Sulaiman did not disbelieve in Allah. وَلَكِن, but the shayateen, the devils and the shayateen disbelieved in Allah. Why? Because they learned magic or they taught magic. وَمَا كَفَرَ سُلَيْمَانُ وَلَكِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ كَفَرُوا يُعَلِّمُونَ النَّاسَ السِّحْرَ, because they teach people magic. And the story behind this ayah carries many lessons for us. One of the lessons to focus on in this part of the episode inshallah is the first part, that magic is known throughout humanity. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called the people of Nuh the first prophet, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that they mentioned that Nuh was a magician. So they claimed that Nuh learned magic, and this magic was brought by the devils and the shayateen and the jinn, and they had the knowledge of it, knowing among them. So when Sulaiman alayhi salam came, Sulaiman alayhi salam was a prophet and a king. So he controlled jinn under his control. They used to do things for him, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, we mentioned before. And Sulaiman used to speak to animals. Sulaiman alayhi salam used to have communication with certain creatures and species that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. So when he died, they didn't know about his death. The jinn didn't know about his death till if you remember, his stick was eaten by a worm, and then he fell on the ground, and this is when the jinn knew or realized that Sulaiman was dead. So some of the shayateen, to show humans that they had power and magic was a knowledge to be brought and to learn, and it's allowed for them to learn, they brought the books of magic and they merged it with the books of dhikr and remembrance that Sulaiman used to recite, and they placed it under the throne of Sulaiman alayhi salam. So when the humans came, the jinn said, you want us to prove to you that Sulaiman was controlling jinn and animals, and he used to speak to them by learning these spells and these words of magic. They said, how would you prove that? So they brought out these books and they said, these are the books of Sulaiman that he used to learn and recite. So people claim that Sulaiman alayhi salam was dealing with magic and he was a magician. That's why the Quran denies that and denied the statement of Bani Israel when they claimed that Sulaiman was a magician by saying, وَاتَّبَعُوا مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينَ, and Allah revealed the verse 103, وَمَا كَفَرَ Sulaiman, Sulaiman did not disbelieve. So Allah called learning magic and practicing magic as to be disbelief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But indeed the shayateen disbelieved in Allah by learning magic, by practicing magic, by teaching people magic that causes harm. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمَا أُنزِلَ عَلَى الْمَلَكَيْنِ بِبَابِلَ هَارُوتَ وَمَارُوتَ, and what was revealed upon the two angels, Harut and Marut, at a place called Babylon, which is in Iraq now. What is the story of Harut and Marut, and how was magic brought to the time of Sulaiman alayhi salam? That will be continued inshallah in the next episode. Jazakumullah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.